Default mode network. Sounds pretty interesting. But what is it? Well, I'm going to tell you in layman's terms. So it's the programming running in our brain constantly, all the time. It tells us how to think, what to do, how to react. And over time in our life, sometimes we don't have some of the best thought processes that we actually want to have, or we keep repeating some of the same behaviors that keep getting in our way, and we don't even understand why we actually do those certain things. Well, it's who we are. It's our perception of reality, and all that programming happened when we were really young. It actually programmed us into the people we're going to be today. So people want to change some of those thought processes. They don't want to keep repeating some of these bad behaviors. So what do? Well, there's some different types of procedures that can actually put the default mode network to sleep so we can create new thought processes. That's the problem when we're having our default mode network. That's why they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because they're already programmed. They're set in their ways. But if we focus hard enough that we can actually change who we are as a human being. And some of those things that we can do are actually meditation. We can meditate and we can put the default mode network to sleep, and we can release our subconscious to enable us to create new thought process in a meditative state. There's other ways that we can actually do this too. We can do it with acupuncture. We can do it with deep sleep, psychotherapy, deep brain stimulation, certain types of medicines, and we can also do it with physical activity. One of the best ways to keep our default mode network at bay a little bit so we can create new thought processes is to actually be focused on a task. And when we're focused on a task, the brain's not able to get in the way as much. If you notice that, where you're really focused on something, nothing can get in your way. As soon as you are done with that task, within a second, bam, your default mode network comes back. So some of the ways to keep our default mode network at rest a little bit more is these tasks, to make these tasks a part of your routine where you're always striving a little bit. You're always reaching. Because if we're reaching in a way that we're actually distracted by reaching constantly, and if we're constantly reaching, reaching doesn't have to be in bad ways. It can be through like the meditation part that I was speaking about. Also deep breathing. Breathing can also put your default mode network to sleep. So there's so many different activities, but the main one I want to speak about here is to keep your eyes on the prize and to work on constantly growing. And if we're not constantly growing or feeling slightly uncomfortable in some way, shape, or form, our old us is going to come back to wreak havoc on us. I'm not saying that we're bad people, but I'm telling you, I don't care who you are. We all have bad habits and bad thought processes. And a lot of us, to be happier, would love to eliminate those processes. So here's a few tips for you, just some thoughts for you to think about on a daily basis. What I do, I definitely meditate. I definitely deep breathe. I definitely exercise. I definitely work on my sleep. Think about the things that you definitely do where you're striving to get lost into the solution. And then we can make it a lot more fun. And before you know it, you start realizing that you can teach an old dog new tricks and that you can actually change. Change is actually possible, and it's actually the only thing constant. There's a saying, if you don't ride the wave of change, you'll find yourself beneath it. There's another one. To adapt is to change, and to not change is to become extinct. However you look at it, none of us are getting out of this alive, and none of us want to suffer any more than we already do, because life is some form of suffering, and the only person that really gets in the way of a new you is you. So all we got to do is get ourselves out of the way. We put that default mode network to sleep a little bit, give it some rest as we're doing something that helps us become better. And then these thought processes start getting wired by this word called neuroplasticity. It's a beautiful thing. It means the brain can change, that you can change. Peace.